right, Jack. Cheers.
Cheers.
We made it.
Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday, and we started. What did we start? Thursday of last week. So Thursday of last week, we went from Alcova, Wyoming, down to Bags, and then we also did the Red Desert BDX, which was fantastic.
Yep. Way cool.
Day 2, we went from Bags, we'll call it back to Alcova. A little bit short for you. I rode into the dark to get back here. You picked it up the next morning.
Roadside camp and picked it up in the morning and got back here and took off again.
Yeah, and then day 3, we did the Beaver Rim. So that's what, section 4? Section 4, I think. Yeah, section 4, which is really cool. It was long, but because we had such a long first day, we didn't want to overdo it that day, and we stayed in Atlantic City. And then,
which was well worth it.
Yeah, so that was day 1, 2, 3. Then day 4, we went from Atlantic City up to Tennessee. That was kind of another long day. And then day 5, we went from Tennessee up to Burgess Junction, but we rented a rustic cabin there at the Bear Lodge. And
Very rustic.
yeah, very rustic. And then we made the last section up to the Crow River Reservation and the Montana border, and then back. So that was our day 5 to complete the route, and then back to Burgess Junction. So great ride. And then day 6, we took a bit of slabbing, but then we kind of did our own back route across just north of the Beaver Rim, back here to Alcova. So just another great day. So I think I just now I forgot what it was. I looked at my odometer.
Yeah, cool trip.
Very, very cool. So let's talk day 1. We did the Desert X, the Red Desert. Fantastic. We got caught in the storm, the rain. Now, unfortunately, I had my GoPro going. There's a different camera, and I had it up on top of my helmet. Or actually, I think I had it on my chest that day. And so I somehow flipped the lens around and had the one pointing back at me, so it didn't catch anything where you could see me dump it into the ice bath. So I missed that one, but in one of the deep water crossings after the hailstorm, because there, a bit of rain, it all runs off, and so what was just a low spot was like a 2 feet deep water crossing, and it had, 3-4 inches of hail floating on the top, so it was like an ice bath. And then underneath there's ruts, super slick, and even though I knew it was there, I could feel it starting to go, and it was just so slippery. As soon as the weight was off, there was just no saving it. I kind of tried to dab and just fell forward. It was, didn't even stall the bike, and I got up, but I got wet, and it was cold.
I was behind him when I had to put my feet down, and then I could feel how slippery it was down there. I got to get off to help him, and boom, he was up, got the bike up.
Yeah, and then what made it challenging too is because the rain, so just that hard-packed Wyoming dirt was actually clay, and man, it's just slicker than snot, and it packs up in your tires and your chain and your forks on your boots. If you touch, your boots all of a sudden weigh 10 pounds each. And I was like, oh shit, I hope this dries out, because this is going to be a long day trying to get out of here.
It could have been really, really bad. We had camping gear, so if it would have been bad, it would have stayed up.
Yeah. We were prepared, but it was like, I didn't want to have to do it. So luckily, it was, the storm was pretty narrow. So, I don't know, it had maybe a 10 or 15 mile wide drop of the precipitation. So once we crossed that, and it only just nicked us from the north. So luckily then, it started to dry out, and we were able to just fly the rest of the way out. I mean, it was wide open on the way.
We were never actually got hail hitting us. We were right on the edge of it, and we were looking off. We're in the rain, and we're looking off, going, wow, what is that white stuff
on the top of the, you asked me, like, what is that?
We just figured it was glare from the wetness.
Yeah,
and we we got closer, and I'm like, oh, it's one of them hills. Maybe got calcium on it or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Then we got closer, like, oh, it's freaking.
It's
like
freaking
2
hail.
inches of hail.
Yeah. Yeah. So very okay. So then day 2 we started out kind of slow out of the gate because we were so packed with the clay. It was hardening where it was thin, and once you dug off that 2 inches, it was still wet under there. So we scraped it off at the hotel, and then we went to the car wash and pressure washed the
Luckily,
bikes.
there was a car wash there. Of course.
Yeah, because it would eventually would have vibrated off, but we would have been carrying around an extra 10 or 20 pounds for sure. And we had a nice breakfast at the Cowboy Inn there.
That was nice.
We had a big breakfast. We both had the Cowboy breakfast, and neither one of us are used to that much oil and everything.
I am.
Oh, you are? Okay, I'm not. But anyway, so then we rode, we did the expert section. That was pretty cool. Good climb and great viewpoints.
Yeah. Up there was snow up there. We rode through the corner of the snow.
Yeah, just to say we rode through snow. And
there were 2 guys on 890s at the bottom with us, and we got to the top, hung out, never saw them. It was a little technical at the beginning to get up there.
it wasn't like super bad, but with the rocks, if you're not used to riding rocks, and you need to actually go faster to have the momentum to just kind of fly over it and let the bikes, the gyroscopic effect of the wheels and the momentum just carry over stuff. But no, it was fun. And then,
it was cool up there. There was a couple up there with a couple side-by-sides, and they had their, 90-year-old dad with them.
Was he that old?
Oh, he looked pretty old.
I don't think it was that old. I think he just looked that old. But he had a rough.
He was
go
old.
of it, yeah.
He was old. They had to help him walk back to the.
Yeah, he wasn't very steady, but they got him out. And,
yeah, it was way cool seeing
yeah,
that.
he was a vet. I think he was a Vietnam era vet. So that was pretty cool. So then what? We came down off of that, and then we worked our way fast roads up, or fast kind of trails, 2-track and stuff up to Elk Mountain.
Elk Mountain. We get to Elk Mountain. Pull in front of
the Elk Mountain Trading Company, and I thought it had a sign somewhere in front of Mercantile or something too. So I was thinking, okay, it was like kind of a little store, and I go to Jack, hey, we know we're kind of behind schedule to try and make it all back to Alcova, so I'm like, hey, let's get some food. And in my head, I'm thinking they just had like a grocery, and I was like, we'll get some noodles or some carbs or something that we can cook if we don't get back to Alcova in time for the restaurant, because we knew we'd be pushing it right till the end, but we could because that's where the Ricos were. Well, no, that was it was Ken and Nancy. Yeah. Ken and Nancy it was a restaurant, and kind of just a little store off the side, but knickknacks, not any food. And Ken got us talking, and he's like, well, this is the best food around, you better stop, and like, well, what time you open till? He's like, 7, and like, well, what time is it? It's 10 to 7. It's like, oh, and he's like, well, I'll tell you what, you guys run into town, or up to the junction at the interstate or the Conco, you get your gas, but put your order in now, Nancy will get it cooking, and it'll be ready for you when you get back. And it's like, well, we couldn't say no to that.
Yep.
So we quick looked at the menu, had a brief chat with Ken, put our order in, we run up, get gas, we come back, and boy, Ken could talk. Ken was telling us stories of this and that. Fantastic guy, just a character.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they said they were 70 something.
Yeah, 70 something. And so Nancy was back there cooking, but they were both cooks. And so when they brought the food out, then Nancy come out too, and she could out-talk Ken.
Bought her big walleye.
Yeah. Oh, and the stories, it was fantastic. And what was the funniest thing is because Ken had been talking our ear off, and he was the greatest guy. And then when Nancy got going, he shut up and he comes around to me. She'll talk your ear off, boy. Oh, it was salt to the earth. Wonderful people. Wonderful people. So after that, then it was even later because we spent a good hour there.
He gave us a little bit of a heads up on a different route.
Yeah.
That would be better than the BDR route.
Yeah, so we cut off couple sections of highway and did more gravel and kind of dirt roads up to Medicine Bow, and so that was pretty good. And then it just was we just ran out of time, so we got up to just the south side of the Shirley Mountains, and it was at that point it was dusk. I mean, it's a long twilight, but we hit finally hit that where it was the BLM road or whatever going up, and you said, "That's it, I'm not riding in the dark." And I said, "Well, I'm gonna keep going because I don't want to camp where I'm gonna get trampled by cows." I was of that in the morning. And just plus I wanted to get back to my bed here in the van. So anyway, so Jack camped there. I rode the last 2 hours into the night. I mean, the thing is, normally I don't like riding at night, but on the forest roads and stuff like that, I don't mind it as much because you're going slow enough where if a big animal comes out, you're not going fast, so it's not like you're on a highway and the deer flies across. And you see, it's a completely different experience. The jackrabbits all wanted to race me. Half of the rocks in the trail were actually birds that would fly up and go in your face. The owls were out, and then I saw 2 fantastic shooting stars. One just a fireball streak across the sky, so that was really cool. Saw tons of antelope, a couple deer, and so I just took my time. And I have good enough lights where the technical terrain wasn't so bad. It wasn't any worse at night than it would be during the day, seeing the ruts and the rocks. So I made my way back, and I had a nice ride. And you got to see it in the day. So.
Camped, something I've always wanted to do, just pull over and camp right there, right off the side of the road. It was cool. The moon was bright. Never put the rain fly on the tent. That was cool. Cool camping night. Got up in the morning, got back here.
Yeah. So then day 3. So in the morning I slept in a little bit. Jack was here pretty early, and he came by, pulling into camp, and I heard him, heard the motor going by, and I heard the beep beep. And I didn't see him. He went straight to the showers and hung out for a bit there, got cleaned up, because I had showered the night before. It was so nice. And so then,
I got to change my oil on the motorcycle.
Did some maintenance on the bikes, just once over again. You change your oil, and then so that day 3, we thought we'd get a lot further, but because we got a late start and had such a long day the day before, we rode that Beaver Rim, and oh boy, that was a long ride. It was super cool, and I'm so glad we did it, but not like I wanted to run back there and do it again.
Right. It was hot.
Yeah,
there
it was
zero shade out
Zero
there.
shade, mid-90s. And we had kind of a warm spell during this trip, and boy, it goes on and on and on. Super cool, 2-track, and not like we were going slow. We were making good time. And we didn't have any issues, no tip overs, no anything. So we just made great time. We stopped just a couple times to hydrate, and then we stopped at one of the big overlooks, that's marked on the map, and took a few extra pictures. That was pretty cool. But we just hauled butt, but
barbed wire right next to the trail, right next to it.
Yeah, and the thing is once you pick a track, and most of it you couldn't switch. So like if you were in the right track, because I was expecting to hit at least 1 or 2 other BDR guys coming north to south. So in a lot of that you can't see up and over the next rise. So I rode the right track, and that right track in a few of those hills was 3 feet from the barbed wire, and it's like, okay, don't fall and wrap up in the barbed wire.
looking at the wire, going, is it just stranded wire? No, it's barbed wire. Don't look at it. Just don't look at it.
Yeah. So, but that was good, and then we rolled into Atlantic City. It had to be what, 5:30,
It was like 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Because we had appetizers and a beer.
Right. So we stopped.
Then we figured out if we waited a little while longer, we could actually get the dinner menu.
Yeah. So what was that place we ate at?
Mercantile.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, it used to be. It was like the post office or something originally. It had some cool history.
Brothel.
brothel.
Seems like everything was a brothel
Yeah.
at one time.
Yeah, and so then we had an appetizer and a drink, and then we rode our bikes down just a block around the corner to Wild Bill's, got gas, and got a room at the Miner's Delight Inn.
Which Wild Bill and his wife.
Wild
owned.
Bill and Carmela, great people, fantastic, salt of the earth again. And then Chris, I never caught his last name, Chris, who was hiking the Continental Divide
For the second
time, because he does that.
He was doing it the second time to check out his new heart parts, carbon
Yeah.
fiber heart parts.
Yeah, and he's 6'1", 135 pounds, and just
of nature.
freak of nature, outdoors person. And so he had been hiking and got snowed in. He must have been doing it late enough in the year. Got stuck there and just stayed. Loved it. And so now he's been there a few years, working for Bill and Carmela, and just fantastic guy. So if you ever watch this, great to meet you.
Yeah.
So we stayed there, and so that was the end of day 3. Okay, so day 4.
Gotta beat a breakfast.
Gotta beat a breakfast 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Not 6:55, not 7:05. 7 a.m. sharp. Wild Bill, he's on a schedule, and this is on a Sunday. The man works all day, and how did it go? So I asked him, because he eats a big breakfast all day. He said, this is the most important meal of the day, right? And I said, well, you're working all day. I said, yep. And he said, I don't eat dinner. He said, I eat a big breakfast, I go all day, and then he called it something else at 5:30.
I think he has supper and dinner.
Well, he called it, I had supper at 5:30, but then that's it, no dinner.
Well, I think some people call lunch dinner. And
Yeah,
there's
so
something there,
yeah, so it was interesting. So,
But so he made us breakfast and sat down and had breakfast with
Yeah.
us. Really good pancakes, Bill, if you ever see this.
yeah, really good pancakes, great conversation, lots of stories about elk hunting in deep snow and
Yep.
guns and
Yep.
no government. So good breakfast. And so from there we rode up to Lander, up, that was kind of cool there. And Chris had been telling us about the lakes, and so they were pretty, as he said. And we didn't do any of the side tracks, but just very beautiful up through there. Lots of people in there because it was the weekend now. Up through Lander, and then
A lot of mountain bikers up there.
yeah, and then worked our way. Kind of the trail dips back out into the desert and up to Shoshone, and that's where the crossing of Highway 130. So for any guys who are watching this to ride the BDR, whether you're going north or south, the trail, it's just you're on this dirt road and it's so fast. I mean, you can be doing 70, 80, 90 miles an hour for a long ways, either side of that Highway 130. And you come up to it, and there's this
Kind
cattle
of
guard,
You come up to
and you don't necessarily see that there's a highway. So, I mean, if a semi was going by, you'd probably see the top of it. But a small car, you might not see it. And I came flying up to that, and I was like, oh shit, it's a highway. And I locked up both wheels, and I stopped. And then I think you saw my brake lights, so that tipped you off. But we talked to other guys, and they're like, they blew through that at high speed.
Two other groups did.
Yeah, so watch for that one.
So
But then,
maybe we all need to let the Wyoming DOT know that they need to put a stop sign
or
on both
even
sides.
the BDR guys, somebody just to put a little sign out there that says, hey, stop ahead. It wouldn't take much, and you'd pick it up.
Because I heard the same issue on Facebook, but it really doesn't connect until you're actually
Until you've already gone through it.
until go, wow, somebody could get smoked right there.
Yeah. Yeah, so then it goes up into Shoshone, and then,
That was a long, hot ride. It was good. It was good, easy, but it was hot.
Yeah, and so day 4, I mean, we kept, so we through Shoshone, that long, hot ride, but fast, and then up to 10 Sleep, and we ran into a couple guys that we had ran into right here in Alcova when we started, and they had been doing a bunch of just other stuff and parts of the BDR, and so we ran into them in 10 Sleep, and we were looking at camping at the brewery there, the Tennessee Brewery, and Clint, who's Wyoming native, he's like, no, like, you know, this is gonna still be, it's not gonna drop down in temp that much. You won't be comfortable camping. He said there's a great spot on the northeast side of Meadowlark Lake, and that's where we're going. So we said, well, that sounds great. So the four of us rode up there, you know, did that first little section. We missed, and that's the one section we didn't get back to, and we missed just a couple miles on either side of the river.
But it was cool. We were on the pavement side, and you could actually see it was an easy dirt road that we missed. But it was cool seeing that side of the valley.
So we wrapped up our day 4 by getting up to Meadowlark Lake, hanging out with Clint and Anthony, great guys.
They had a third guy. He crashed in Beaver Rim.
Yeah, in Beaver Rim.
Hurt his knee. And headed back home after that.
Yeah, so
Mighty KLR.
Yeah, so great day 4. And we had dinner at the Tennessee Brewery, the food truck there, and then so we just kind of made it up late and camped, and good night. So then day 5 we wake up and Bullwinkle is hanging out down in the campsite. So this big old bull moose is just, I don't know what, 60 yards from their tent, you know, just down there laying in the tall grass, reaching around on what he can, munching on the grass. And we talked to the camp host, and he was the smaller of the 2 bulls. There's also a cow. The 3 of them kind of hang out in the area. And he said when it's not too busy at the campground, they come right through and they kind of hang out. And so that was cool because it was pretty quiet that night and in our mornings. So got to see a big old moose just hanging out.
It was neat seeing that.
Yeah. And so from there, you know, we're just again north of Tennessee. We rode up to Burgess Junction. We did, you know, it's cool, high 2-track and ATV trails again, going up into the Bighorns. It was nice to get away from the lower deserts. I mean, it was high plains deserts, but still hot. And then once you get up to the Bighorns, cool down, a lot more rocky, slow going, but nice.
We did both of the expert loops.
Yeah,
they were good.
Yeah. The one was still kind of hot, but cool, and you know that going down around that ridge, that was pretty cool. And then the other one, you know, we thought, oh, cool, it's going to be single track. You know, I was excited for single track, but now it just immediately
for about 50 feet.
Yeah, then immediately dumped into an ATV trail, which was still fun, but I was like hoping for single track. So anyway, that was good. Worked our way up to Burgess Junction, and that's where we got the rustic cabin. And when we say rustic, we mean rustic. I mean, it was like holes in the walls. The cabin kind of slanted downhill.
Carvings on the walls.
There's from 1,000 people, the snowmobilers up there. So, but it was fine. It was cheap. It fit us just right.
That was where we made another decision. It's like, can we beat this storm?
Yeah. So, as we're coming north to Burgess Junction, we can just see the dark clouds off to the west, maybe a little bit north, and you can see the sheets of rain coming down in the distance. And we're like, oh man! And Clint had been telling us that, yeah, if it's raining, you can't do that last section. And so we're like, well, crap. So we got up there and we made a decision. We got the rustic room. We dumped our extra gear, like a camping gear there. I said, all right, let's make a run for it. And if it rains, because the way the section works, there's that one section that then jumps back to the highway, and then the final little short spot up to the border. And we said, all right, you know, it's not too far in there, so if we get rain on and we get into trouble, we'll just take the highway back and we'll maybe hit it in the morning. And we had drops of rain, just kind of, we're on the edge of it, but it never really came down, and we just flew through that. And then it's a fast run up. It's only the last few miles that got technical again, right up to the Montana border and the Crow Reservation. So we left Burgess Junction and we were at the Crow reservation border in what did it take, an hour and 10 minutes?
It took us 2.5 hours to go up and get back
Right.
to the
And on the way,
Burgess.
yeah, and so we spent probably at least 20, 25 minutes hanging out there, taking some pictures, did a little video, which if you're watching this, probably watched. And then on the way back, we stopped for another photo op and just took a slower way back. So we flew up there, took a little more time coming back, and then had a nice dinner. It was a lot better than the dinner before. Where were we good? And that was at, I'm sorry, I'm thinking way back to bags, the burnt stuff.
Oh yeah, bags.
So anyway, it was a decent dinner. And then going back to the cabin was just fine. So it actually, I heard, did you hear the rain go through then overnight?
No.
Yeah, I heard it did rain. Took us 5
Oh,
days
but-
to do it all.
So that night, the night after we got back from the border there, we didn't have a shower in our primitive cabin. So the shower was like right off the bar. It was an odd deal. It was the same bathroom you would use if you were in the bar. So I took a shower.
I elected to just stay in the cabin.
It was all good.
So, 5 days. What was your favorite part?
Actually, I think Elk Mountain store there, the restaurant, Ken giving me shit when I'm trying to talk to him. I got my helmet. I got my helmet on. I said, I can't hear you, expecting him to speak up, and he said, "Fuck yeah, you can't hear nothing. You got a damn helmet on." I'm like, all right, you're right.
And
you're
I'm
right.
s- and I was sitting there thinking, is this guy just an asshole or is he giving him shit? And you were thinking the same
yeah.
thing, and he's just giving him shit. Ken, what a character, fantastic. Yeah.
I guess the best riding was the Red Desert. I don't know if it was the actual riding or just being out there in the rain and the hail and just that experiencing all of that was really cool.
Yeah, as far as, my favorite or most memorable parts, I think was Atlantic City, because it was a cool old mining town, had a lot of history, had a lot of diverse people in there, from the full-on cowboys and the MAGAs to the old hippies and the kids with the cell phones, and you see the cowboys looking at it. And then, of course, Wild Bill and Carmel. I mean, they were just fantastic
And Chris.
people. And Chris. And so I really enjoyed that part of it because I enjoy the people. As far as riding, I love the Beaver Rim and that 2-track where, you just, for miles and miles, a 2-foot wide thing just hit it. And if you did it right, man, you could just, every sweeping thing down through the valley was a berm. You could just maintain speed. I mean, I liked so many different parts. I love the Red Desert. I love the challenge of the sand, and I'm glad we had the challenge of the rain because it really made it an adventure.
It lets you know what that mud is too,
Right,
what it
right.
could be if you got trapped out there.
And then, while I wouldn't want to ride them all day, it was great to experience the choppy rocks and the bighorns, and then the other sections where you get those punchy little uphills where you had to maintain momentum and good line choice. So those were all fun. And then on the spots where they would have the channels for the runoff to not wash the trail out too bad, so you could just jump those. There's every couple hundred yards another jump. So that was
Or
fun.
bottom your fork out in them.
Yeah. So the riding, I mean, there was nothing that was like overly technical. I mean, coming into this, I was geared up for more water crossings, and I was surprised we just didn't have that many. In Utah we had a bunch, and I was thinking, from reading the Wyoming BDR Facebook group that there'd be some deeper water stuff, and it looked impressive coming up, but then when you got in it, it wasn't as deep as you thought. I mean, the most challenging one we did was actually in the Red Desert because of the rain.
Yeah.
At least I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And then just when you think you're hardcore, somebody like Chris at Atlantic City. He hikes snowshoes up in the winter and carves out his own freaking fort.
His own Quincy. Yeah, he would go up there and carve out his own Quincy hut. He didn't even have to stack up the snow because it's so deep up there. And he just spent a week up there or something.
Yeah,
just
so
living in the
crazy.
snow, snow fort in the middle of the winter. Yeah. So, all right. Any final thoughts?
Good time.
Another great time.
This is our third BDR. 0 regrets on any of them. Steve's been fantastic to ride with. Although I've noticed when we get to a water crossing, he now stops and videos me going through because there's been issues.
Well, it's like I've done the first couple, and it's like, it's more interesting for the viewers to see what it likes for the bike to go through than to just have a camera that, across water. So I was just trying to be fair, Jack.
Oh, thanks.
And it will show up on the video if you guys saw this. As he rolled by me, you fucker. And then he goes in. And Jack has been just a pleasure to travel with. He's always making sure I'm drinking enough water, giving me beef jerky. We got each other's back, so it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's nice when somebody hands you something to eat. Steve will hand me a salted nut roll. All right, I'll eat it, even though I didn't plan on eating, but you probably should. Or you see the other guy drinking a Gatorade, and it's like, that's a good idea. Bikes were fantastic. Tires were great.
Yeah, we made it.
Yeah.
High speed. I was a little worried about those cheaper tires on some of those high speed runs, but they held together. We won't name any speeds, but if you go back through the video, it might show the GPS. we abide by all laws and regulations.
Is there rules? Is there really any rules in Wyoming? No drugs, I guess, is the only rule.
That's the rule. No marijuana. Other than that, you can do anything. All right. Well, thanks for watching, for sticking through this, for you hardcore people that like to listen to us.
Yeah, if you're wondering about doing a BDR, it's only one way to find out.
Yeah, you can throw in the comments, reach out to Jack or I'd be happy to offer us, our experience and advice for what we've learned over these past few.
And there are go-arounds too on some of the tougher stuff, but
yeah, and I
do
love
your
it.
research.
Yeah, do your research, and we saw every type of bike out there. The big BMWs down to 250s, and everybody was doing what they could do and had a great time. So if you're wondering, what's the perfect bike? It's that bike you already have in your garage. Just go ride it.
Yep, practice and go, and you don't have to camp. You really don't have to bring all that crap. You can hotel. You don't have to cook.
No. Yeah, that's me. I prefer not to camp, and I prefer not to stand out on those ledges.
No, we had talked since we have not cooked on any. Well, we cooked one night in Utah, or you did. I was sick and just went to bed.
Yeah.
But we don't think we would bring cooking stuff anymore. Very minimal camping gear, just in case you got trapped out there somewhere.
Yeah, because there's enough places to stay, and it's so nice to. Well, for me, I like to be around other people in the town to check that out at the end of the day. And it's just, okay, you've been riding all day, and I mean, for me, I like to have a bed versus the rocks. But again, the night we camped, it was fantastic. So, yeah. Teach his own.
And you don't have to do it as fast as we did. Clinton and Anthony, Clinton's from Wyoming, and he gave Anthony a tour that sounded fantastic.
Yeah, they were spending 2 full weeks to do essentially the BDR and a bunch of extras.
Yep. Hopefully they'll get a video, or they'll get some comments going on stuff they did.
All right, any final thoughts, Jack?
Do it.
All right, thanks for sticking with us to the end. Get out there and enjoy it. This is Herman.
Pirate.
Come on, you got to do it.
Arr!
All right. See ya.